Let us pray. Very kind and merciful Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to come before you once again. As we prepare to get started, we ask that your grace will be with us. Lead us, guide us, and teach us. Help us that the information that is shared will be a blessing to your children. These are the things we ask in your Son Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. We're going to go right into the treatment portion of fibroids. As you can see, I would have had a chance to post part 1 and part 2. This is actually the treatment now. And I'll tell you, I have had a good amount of success with dealing with fibroids. Initially, I didn't have as much success. I would have success here and there, kind of sporadically, until finally I decided to add a extra treatment. And I'll tell you, since I've added this treatment, I start getting results that very day. This is a treatment that I have actually known for over 20 years. I began studying this specific aspect of the treatment over 20 years ago. And I just kind of took my time before I went full-fledged into it. And I have finally come to the conclusion that now is a good time to incorporate that aspect into the training and into the treatment also. And lo and behold, the success has been phenomenal. So what you would have seen tonight would be an updated treatment. And since I've updated the treatment, I'll tell you, I get results for fibroids from the very first moment that I start. Okay, so with that being said, let us go straight into the presentation. And I have so many testimonies that I can give. I know I've given numerous testimonies prior to here, but with this updated treatment, I get testimonies from the very first day. I get results from the very first day. I have ladies that call me that have been bleeding for months, bleeding nonstop. And as soon as they start feeling better from the very first day. Within a few days, all of the bleeding completely stopped. All of the distended stomach, the bloatedness in the stomach and so forth, you start seeing the stomach start going down. And the feelings of these ladies are absolutely amazing within a couple of days on the program. So we're going to go straight to how to turn off the faucet. And this is going to deal with the diet as well as the lifestyle and herbal treatment. That's what we're going to go right into. Okay, foods to avoid. I'll tell you from the get-go, very simple. The bottom line is that we're going to go a total plant-based diet. You know, if you don't remember anything else, know that we're going a total plant-based diet, and it's going to be mainly a gluten-free diet. So if you don't remember anything that I say here, just remember at least two things. It's going to be plant-based and it's going to be gluten-free. But it's going to be the healthier portion of the gluten-free diet. So here's what we're going to remove. We're going to remove all fish, chicken, turkey, beef, pork, shrimp, lobster, conch, crab, butter, eggs, ice cream, cheese, goat, lamb, and animal milk. We're going to also remove all high-fat foods from the diet. We're going to go also to a free oil diet, or you can say an oil-free diet. And someone said, Brother Luke, why are you removing all of the oils from the diet? I'm going to come real quick to that. Let me deal with the soy, and then I'm going to come back to the oil-free or free oil diet. I remember years ago, a young lady approached me, and she said to me, and this was a young lady, she was living, I think, in the Asian countries at that moment. And she says, you know, Mr. Luke, I suffered with fibroids for a good while, and she was living in Asia. And she said, you know, I used to eat a lot of soy while I was in the Asian countries. And I found that when I ate soy, my fibroids would get worse. And she says, when I removed soy, I found that my fibroids got better. And, you know, she would go back and forth, and we were talking for a while. And while we were there talking, I said, you know, make all the sense in the world, because we know that soy, it's a plant-based estrogen, which is phytoestrogen. And here's the thing about soy. When you're dealing with breast cancer also too, and this is something that you also need to keep in mind, that even though soy is excellent as a food in general, depending on the type of breast cancer that you might be dealing with, if it's estrogenic, hormonal, or non-hormonal, then soy, like for example, if it's estrogenic, which would be hormonal, consuming soy will make that breast cancer spread even faster. If it's non-hormonal, then consuming soy is no big deal. Okay? But as long as that breast cancer is hormonal, if you consume soy, the soy being estrogenic, being that it has plant-based estrogen, will cause that breast cancer to spread even more. And it's not just soy alone. It's things like flaxseed, oregano oil, you know what I mean? Simple things like that. Oregano oil, that is so awesome for balancing a hormone. Oregano oil, that is so excellent for destroying cancer tumors, building the immune system, should not be used if you're dealing with hormonal breast cancer, because these situations will make it worse. Well, it's the same thing with any type of estrogenic type diseases, be it cysts, be it fibroids, or even things like polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, you know, anything along that line that is hormonal, you want to show caution, and this same protocol can be used in those specific situations. Now, one of the things that, you know, some basic characteristics of estrogen, I tell you, this is like the biggest characteristics, one of the biggest characteristics of estrogen. It loves fat. It loves to hide in fat. And because it loves fat, because it loves hiding in fat, you'll find that our ladies, and in the Caribbean, you'll find this pretty common among Caribbean women or women of color. Okay, so Caribbean women and women of color or women love to be full-figured. And because they love to be full-figured, they tend to have extra blessings on their body. Because they have extra blessings, they have plenty of storage capacity for estrogen to store. One of the things you'll find about estrogen, if it is stored, it will be available for usage at a later date when it comes to estrogenic issues. So that's why we would love for all oil-based items to be removed from the diet, because we're looking to get the body as lean as possible. You know, no excessive fat in the diet, nothing for estrogen to hide when we're looking to remove it completely. I hope I was able to clarify or make that clear. So the bottom line is the purpose for removing high-fat foods as well as free oils from the diet is because estrogen loves fat. It loves to hide itself in fat. And if you create that vehicle for it to hide in, it will be available for the fibroids, the cysts, and so forth for growth when they need excessive estrogen. Okay? So I hope that was able to clarify that. Caffeine drinks, foods, all caffeinated related foods. You see things like cocoa, green tea, black tea. You see that word tea? That word tea stands for like green tea, black tea, chai tea, white tea, sweet tea. You know, it stands for those type of teas. And those teas should never be consumed by any individual, number one, who is anemic, or number two, who is actually dealing with fibroids. And we know that all women that are dealing with fibroids will have some level of issue with anemia, okay, or blood-making mechanisms. And the reason for eliminating the green tea, the black tea, the chai tea, the white tea, the sweet tea, the reason for eliminating these teas is because these items have something they call phenolic tannins. Phenolic tannins tend to block the absorption of iron, which makes it even more difficult for us to build blood during this difficult or critical time. You also find in the cocoa, or some people say the cocoa plant, it also has something called phytic acid. It's the #1 source of phytic acid on the face of the earth. And phytic acid it stops iron absorption again. So you know, woman's best friend, which is chocolate, which comes from the cocoa or the cocoa plant, and which way you want to pronounce that name, because of the phytic acid, will pose a problem again with blood building mechanism, and we're going to have some problems. So these items needs to be completely removed. Carbonated sodas, sugar, alcohol, salty foods, all white and refined foods. Now, cooked spinach is a rather, you'll find that it shows up here in terms of something to avoid, and then later on it shows up in terms of something to add. Cooked spinach, you can use spinach if you're dealing with fibroids, because spinach is high in iron. But the key is to know that it should not be eaten raw. You need to steam it tender. If you eat it raw, it is very high in oxalic acid. And one of the things you'll find is that oxalic acid does form kidney stones. Well, it forms oxalic stones, which ultimately would be stones that are formed in the kidney that causes kidney stones. So keep that in mind. But technically speaking, cooked spinach are excellent for individuals who are dealing with any type of anemia-related issue. It just got to make sure that the spinach is cooked. Foods to increase. You're going to eat a low-fat, high-fiber diet, including more whole, raw foods. And we will specify the foods that can be eaten raw. Very simple. All vegetables need to be steamed tender except for lettuce. So in the vegetable world, vegetables, the only thing that we encourage you to eat raw is lettuce. All other vegetables, we encourage you to steam tender. Okay? And you can eat an abundance of fruits. Now, someone may say, hey, Brother Luke, how do I know what is a fruit from what is not a fruit? Very simple. Know that Genesis 1:11, it says all fruits have seeds on the inside. So if it has a seed on the inside, it's a fruit. So things like pumpkin, okra, eggplant, butternut, summer squash, winter squash, table squash, all these are fruit. You have raw fruits and you have cookable fruits, just like you have raw vegetables as well as cookable vegetables. Okay? You'll find that as you increase your fruits and vegetables, it is excellent for the system because these items are high in fiber, and what they're going to do, they're going to aid in the removal of excessive estrogen from the system. What's nice also too, when you're dealing with this program, if you ever try to eat raw at least 1 day per week, minimum 1 day per week. If you have extra blessings on the body and you can go a few extra days, even greater. That's why when we do the raw program, we have a 7-day raw program that we normally advocate. You'll find that if you ever do the raw program, you'll find that during that time, you'll feel absolutely amazing. full of energy, less bloated. You're just going to find that the body operates in overdrive when you decide to try the raw program. But the raw program we do, it is not like what everybody else in the world does, because we do not do raw vegetables except for lettuce. All of our vegetables are steam tender except for lettuce. And the reason being, you will find that if you eat things like the raw cruciferous family, it will affect the thyroid. If it affects the thyroid, it's going to affect all the glandular tissues of the body, including the uterus, okay, which ultimately will affect fibroids also too. So you definitely have to show wisdom when you're going to go raw, and we recommend that you follow the raw as we have identified it. We have an all raw book that if you would like access to it, we make it available at no cost to you. If you're interested, it's something that we'll make sure that you can go to our website and just download it from our website, and you'll have access to our raw book. Okay? Like beans. All forms of beans are excellent for you. Remember, as I mentioned, when dealing with fibroids, cysts, polycystic ovarian syndrome, hormonal breast cancer, we do not recommend that you make soy a part of the diet. And it's not just soy alone, it's soy and all of its related byproducts. Some people are not aware that mung bean is green soy. Azuki is red soy. So azuki and mung bean, these are actually soy products. So when I said to remove all soy, that would include azuki and mung bean. I recommend whole plant foods eaten whole, and as I mentioned to you, we recommend predominantly that you go on a gluten-free diet, and that's a diet that is free from wheat, barley, rye, and I want to add one more thing. Even though I have it here, I want to take it out. You see right here, the rolled oats. I found that there are many individuals who tend to react to oats. Right here, we found that what the research is showing us is that a lot of the oats have glyphosate in it. And you'll find that glyphosate affects the hormones, okay? If the oats is organic, then I am fine with oats. But if the rolled oats is non-organic, I strongly would recommend that you consider removing oats. So if you look right here, you see that I have oats in the list right here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just do this. I'm going to edit it right now, and I'll just put the word organic. Okay, organic rolled oats. So in that way, I'll feel much more comfortable leaving oats in. Okay, unless the oats is organic, I suggest, listen good, I suggest that you remove oats from it. I specifically made the organic pretty large, so in that way you cannot miss the point there for organic. You want to increase all of your seeds and nuts. Okay, all of your seeds and nuts are excellent. Your sunflower seeds, your pumpkin seeds, your flax seed, chia, Brazil nut, you name it. These are going to be high in basically all of your minerals. They're going to be a broad selection of nutrients that you can get from them. I did mention already that I want you to go on a gluten-free diet, and the bottom line is, if you're going to go on a gluten-free diet, is that you need to remove some basic items. Wheat, and when I say wheat, let me tell you what is wheat. Both white and whole grain. White flour as well as whole wheat flour. Even though one is refined, all of it is still considered wheat. Okay, but then you even have some ancient wheat that I will take to. Ancient wheat such as spelt, kamut, emmer, encorn, tricali, all these ancient wheat, I want to take those also out of the diet. Take those out, and once the system is healed, you can put back in the ancient wheat. What are the ancient wheats? Things like kamut, spelt, emmer, encorn. So once the fibroids are gone, as long as the person is not allergic to wheat as a whole, I would recommend that we put back in the ancient wheats. Okay, so the modern wheat you will no longer use, but ancient wheat you will. Someone said, but look, why do I have to remove wheat? Because one of the things you're going to find, you will find that gluten that is found in the modern wheat, it is hormonal. It will cause fibroids. It will cause cysts. It will cause polycystic ovarian syndrome. It does affect the thyroid, which ultimately affects all of the hormones in the body. So as a result, it is something that has to go. Let's go on a little bit more to lifestyle. And the principle that we're using, if you're wondering, is that if I came to your home and your faucet is on, your pipe is on, and the water, and there's a stopper in the sink, and the water is flowing over from the sink onto the ground, should I grab a mop and start mopping up, or what should I do in its order? And normally, the order is that you turn off the faucet, unplug the sink, and you mop it up. If that's clear, you say amen. So as you can see right now, we are in the unplugging state. We did the turn off, now we're going to unplug. The unplug incorporates your lifestyle. So in the lifestyle, we're going to recommend that you eat on schedule, on time, at all time. Let me repeat that. You eat what? On schedule, on time, at all times. You got to have a schedule, and the meals needs to be spaced at least 5 hours apart. Like for example, if someone wants 3 meals, I'd recommend breakfast to be considered between 6 and 7 a.m., lunch between 12 and 1 p.m., and supper between 6 and 6:30. For further information on menu planning, menu scheduling, consider going and watch the My Plate series. There's a 6-part My Plate series on our YouTube channel. If you just go right onto the YouTube channel and watch that 6-part series, I honestly feel that you will be truly blessed. Keep the weight low. When I say keep the weight low, we are talking stay within your body mass index, okay? Avoid the extra blessings. Why? Because we know that fat cells, we know that estrogen loves excessive fat. It loves to store itself in fat cells. You want to make sure that you dress properly. You'll find that if you're not dressed properly, like for example, if you are a young lady that tends to like shorter garments, like mini skirts and things that are shorter, even you tend to have too much clothing, like in, we should say, either excessive clothing on the trunk area or not enough on the extremities, you'll find that you'll have something called pelvic congestion disorder. That's the PCD, pelvic congestion disorder, where you'll find that the blood will concentrate within that pelvic region. If that blood concentrates within the pelvic region, it's going to feed the fibroids, and we're going to have growth. Okay, so consider making sure that your extremities, the areas that are furthest from the heart, is properly clad, which means your hands as well as your feet, properly clad or clothed. And if that is done, we tend to have very good results. Avoid any use of drugs. Do not overindulge in any sexual activity during the treatment. As a matter of fact, here's the situation. You know, I mean, I know that we advocate sexual activity within marriage, and I'm not here to say that, you know, you can't have a little extra fun from time to time, but try your best to not overindulge, because if you do, it can cause some major issues while we're going through the healing process. And plus, for women that are of childbirth age, the last thing I want during the time that we're doing the treatment is for you to get pregnant, because once you get pregnant, guess what is going to be in excess? Estrogen is going to be in excess, and we're going to have growth. And in most cases, you find that the fibroids will outgrow the child. So it is important that you allow us to go through this treatment, go through it, get the results we need, without any disruption at the time that we're going for the healing. I mentioned pretty much from the beginning that vitamin D deficiency increases your risk for fibroids by 95%. So you'll find that if a woman is not spending adequate time in the sun between the hours of 9 and 3 here in the Caribbean, when the UVB rays are at its highest, they will be at a greater risk of having fibroids. As a matter of fact, women who are vitamin D deficient increase their risk for breast cancer by 600%. It is to a point today that they're actually looking to call breast cancer a vitamin D deficiency disease. Just like, you know, you have issues with vitamin C deficiency, and as a result, you develop scurvy, and they have actually labeled scurvy as a vitamin C deficiency disease. So pretty similar situation is going on right now. But the key is, remember that if you're not one that's accustomed to getting sun, you want to start off gradually and then escalate up to the full 45 minutes to an hour and a half. That's on a daily basis. And based on your complexion, will determine how much you take. Like if you look at the picture of the young lady that's in the picture right there, she's pretty fairly light complected, so about a 45-minute will be good for her. But for someone who has a little extra melanin to their complexion, you'll find that 45 minutes to an hour, and if you're extremely darker, an hour and a half would be good. The nicest thing about vitamin D is fat soluble, meaning that it will store. So if for some reason later on down the road you don't get adequate level, vitamin D can actually go to storage, pull from storage, and use that which is in storage. So please keep that in mind. I got to tell you, right on the screen, if you look at the screen right now, I have conservative numbers there. But I actually, in the treatment, I use a slightly different number. I decided to go with conservative numbers on the screen because sometimes people are very careless and they may not follow all of the other recommendations and they just go straight to treatments. So I just put up conservative numbers. But for the ones who are listening, let me tell you what I normally do. Remember I told you I've changed the protocol and I've been getting tremendous results. Remember also too that chronic vitamin D deficiency increases your risk for fibroids by 95%. Chronic vitamin D deficiency increases your risk for breast cancer by 600%. Chronic vitamin D deficiency increases your risk for prostate cancer, lung cancer, colon and rectal cancer tremendously. Colon rectal cancer, 253%. Lung cancer is like 250%, somewhere around that range. So what I do, what I've done, is that I actually take that 20,000 IU up to 30,000, and I maintain that for a short period of time to kind of get that person out of deficiency and get control of that fibroid. Like for example, if I was dealing with someone with like lung cancer, I may leave them at the 30,000 for maybe 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and that's 30,000 IU per day. And what I have done, because every time I use it for the lung cancer, I have gotten tremendous results. As a matter of fact, I have gotten almost 100% reversal On lung cancer, every single time I've taken that up to 30,000. So what I do, I take it up to 30,000 for breast cancer. I take it up to 30,000 for lung cancer. I take it up to 30,000 for prostate cancer. And I take it up for 30,000 for colon and rectal cancer, as well as fibroids, polycystic ovarian syndrome, any of those related issues. I also take it up to 30,000. Am I making sense, dear? Okay, good. And then afterwards, after I've maintained it there for several months, and I kind of monitor the individual, so they have to check in. If they're one that does not want to check in, I use the conservative numbers that are on the screen. But if I have someone that I can trust and they're checking in with me daily, then I can go a little higher and take a chance, because then I will just guide them until it's time to bring them down. You don't want to overdo it on vitamin D, because excessive vitamin D can lead to renal failure. Okay, so there is, and to get to an excessive point, it takes a good while. Don't think it's gonna happen overnight. No, it will not. It takes a little while, because if you have to get to at least 150 is where toxicity level occurs. But it will be a while before you get there. So the key is just maintain what I'm sharing with you. And you'll be amazed to see how awesome this vitamin D actually works. Get adequate level of sleep. You'll find that if you don't go to bed before 10 p.m. at night, it's going to affect all of your hormones in your body. Hormones need sleep in order to do their work of repair and rejuvenation. Get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep at night. Now, if for some reason you find that you're not able to get that 6 to 8 hours of sleep, and normally you're up within a 4-hour period, you may want to take a couple items to help to reset the adrenal gland, that you will be able to get adequate level of sleep. As long as the person is not hypertensive, I found that licorice is the best item to reset the adrenal gland. Now, if the person is hypertensive, then I will not use licorice. What I would use in its place is ashwagandha. The only thing is that when we're dealing with hormonal issue, one of the things that you got to remember is that ashwagandha also is hormonal. That's something to be mindful of. So what I'll probably more likely lean to in this situation is use a tea called hops tea, and get my results with the hops instead of the ashwagandha while we're in the midst of a fibroid treatment. Make it a habit to go to bed and get up at approximately the same time each day. And remember this, for the greatest benefit, an optimal bedtime would be roughly between 9:30 and asleep before 10. Okay? We want you to walk for at least an hour a day, 7 days a week. The best time to walk is early in the morning. Now, since I know from a safety issue that this is a disease that tends to affect our ladies, and from a safety standpoint, I'm very mindful to have our ladies out on the street very early in the morning, especially knowing that we're in daylight saving time in the US and certain parts of the world, and it tends to dark, even more. You tend to have little issues with darkness and so forth around this time of the year. So what I would suggest, is consider marching in place in your home or on your veranda, in the backyard, walking around your home. But if not, you can just open your window in your living room and march in place, mark time. I know some people say, oh, Brother Luke, that is so boring. Listen, I am not going for boring, I'm going for safety. So, remember, when someone is hungry, if you give them oatmeal is better than nothing at all. And I honestly feel that march in place is better than nothing at all, because I do get results. I do get reversal of diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, cancer, fibroids. I do get results, weight loss of just individuals marking in place. Get all the organs and muscles, even the involuntary ones, in motion, and practice deep breathing in open air. Always remember to wear longer garments that covers the arms, legs to improve circulation and hormone distribution. Excess clothing on the trunk area with not enough on the extremities is a significant cause of female problems, like, as I mentioned, the polycystic ovarian syndrome issue or polycystic ovarian disease. Avoid bands or belts around the waist, as they may be snug, unsitting, and the pressure on the waist causes pelvic congestion disorder. Avoid poor posture, constipation habitually, chilled feet, overeating, overweight, and too much sexual stimulation during the time of our treatment. Now, let's look at the herbal agents that we're going to recommend right now. There are several things you can do. For someone who does not have allergies or hay fever, I like this. I'm going to give you a nice program. For someone who has allergies and hay fever, I'll also make some recommendation to you. Okay, so let's start off with a basic cleanse. I want to give us a clear field to work with. I recommend that you consider starting with a cleanse. You can do the cleanse while doing everything else at the same time, okay? Because naturally the program we're going to put you on, it's a daily cleanse also too, but this would be like a master cleanse. This would be like a cleanse to, you know, remove any excessive estrogen from the system to give us a clean, plain feel. I'll tell you this, many people who suffer from like allergies and hay fever will find that just by doing a cleanse like what I'm advocating, they can actually get relief. Now, the cleanses that we recommend cleanses that goes with nature, not go against nature. What do I mean? I recommend all cleanses from top down, not from bottom up, okay? So the cleanses that I recommend is from top, meaning goes through the mouth and it comes down, and not from bottom up, okay? So keep that in mind. Start with a cleanse. We recommend 3 tablespoons of castor oil and 1/4 cup of lemon juice. Now, listen to this now. I'm going to add a little kicker to it. Once you take that, you drink 8 ounces of warm water every 15 minutes for 1 hour. And let me tell you something. You do that, it's a guaranteed bowel movement within 2 hours. And it's going to be clean. The system is going to be nice and clean. What's nice about this treatment, it's kind of like a predictable demo. You know what you're going to get, and it's for a specific time. Once it's finished, that's it. You don't have to worry about running into any problems while you're out on the street or out in the public sector. Okay, so 3 tablespoons of castor oil, 1/4 cup of lemon juice, and you drink 8 ounces of warm water every 15 minutes for 1 hour. Now, this you repeat once per week for 8 weeks, okay? Once per week for 8 weeks, and then after that, you can do it once per month, you know, afterwards. So you do it once per week for 8 weeks, and after that, you just do it once per month until the fibroids are gone, okay? I hope that kind of set things straight. I know it says here in the slide, repeat once every month on a day when you'll be off, but it should have another part to it that says once per week for 8 weeks initially, then once per month until the fibroids is gone, okay? Drink lots of water to be hydrated. How do we recommend you take your water? We recommend that upon waking up in the morning, you take 2 to 4 cups of warm water and a half lemon per cup. Always remember, make sure you use a straw because the acid in the lemon will destroy the dental enamel. The treatment that we recommend is something called an LBH treatment. What's an LBH? L is liver, B is blood, H is hormone, liver blood hormone treatment. You'll find that when you're dealing with LBH tends to be with herbs that are ragweeds. These tend to cause like allergies and hay fever and so forth. So someone who maybe have allergies and hay fever, they may have some problems with the LBH items. So in that situation, we also do have an option for them, which I will share with you shortly. Okay, this rotation that we're going to recommend, you're just going to continue following it, okay, until you get the desired result. And you do not add any sweeteners at all. So with the treatment, you do not add any sweeteners, and the treatment is continual. Just remember that. It is continual. So there are several rotations. Once you finish, they just start from the beginning again. Basic principle. Things that are hard, you boil for 15 minutes. Things that are delicate, you just throw the hot water in and let it sit. Okay? So things that are hard, you boil for 15 minutes, and then you let it sit for at least 45 minutes to 4 hours. Things that are delicate, you let draw, just throw the hot water in it and let it sit, and let it sit for at least 3 hours. Okay, 45 minutes to 3 hours, you let it sit. Okay, what are delicate parts? I'll read here. It says, always boil the hard parts of a plant, such as roots, seeds, barks, first for 15 minutes, then add the delicate parts of the plant, such as leaves, flowers, buds, stems, clusters, and steep for 40 minutes. Now, if you're just dealing with delicate parts of the plant, rule of thumb is for delicate parts, you just throw the water over it and let it steep for 40 minutes to 3 hours. But hard parts of the plant, you boil it for 15 minutes and then you let it steep for anywhere between 40 minutes to 4 hours. Okay, 40-45 minutes, just to let you know, because some people say, hey, but I thought you said 45 minutes. Yeah, 40-45 is what you're working with, okay? So here is the rotation. You see, if you take a look, you're going to see we throw different formulas. You have burdock, dandelion, black cohosh, and turmeric. Okay, that's one rotation there. Let's go. You have sheep sorrel, chicory, black cohosh, turmeric. Okay, and if you take a look here with the rotation, what you're going to eventually do, like you see where black cohosh is, you can easily pull black cohosh out and put Vitex. Okay, you can pull the black cohosh out and put Vitex. And you just kind of play with the rotation. And as long as you just keep playing, you will get the desired result. Now, look at this now. For people who have like allergies or gluten sensitivity, I found that this treatment tends to work a little better for those individuals. I use the black cohosh and the burdock for ladies with this situation. Now, I gotta tell you this. Let me just make sure. Oh my, okay. You see black cohosh, and you see it says 2 teaspoons right there? Black cohosh is very, very potent, okay? If for some reason you find that when you're using the treatment, you have like this pressing headache, I'm here to tell you, it's the black cohosh. It's very simple. All you got to do is just drink some more water, and as the water thins it out, it will deal with the headache. There are other ways that I can show you how to do like hydrotherapy and different things like that to get rid of the headache. You can contact me personally because there are different qualifiers. Are you diabetic? Are you not? Do you have poor circulation? You know, so they're like different variables that may kind of change things up a little. But you can swap out the black cohosh with Vitex if you need, but I love black cohosh. Know that it is very potent, and if push comes to shove, we can actually even drop that down from 2 teaspoons all the way down to 1 teaspoon, or even a half or quarter teaspoon, because of how potent black cohosh is. Now, if you take a look right here, it says 1 to 2 cups of water. You want to do that. Let me change that one. I'm going to just broaden that a little here. We're going to just go and just say 4 cups, okay? because that would be too strong, and that will cause major issue right here. Okay, so let's go right ahead and we'll use it the way I just suggested. The black cohosh is very potent. If you get a headache, use dilute with 4 cups of water. So the bottom line is this mixture right here has to be done in 4 cups of water. If you do it in 4 cups of water, you tend to have success. If for some reason you still find that there's a little slight headache, just add a little extra water, and by thinning up that black cohosh, you'll find that the headache will go away. Okay, it is very strong. That's why it works so quickly. You also have to maintain proper liver and thyroid health. You'll find that kelp, dulse, which are seaweed products, they work wonders in terms of helping you to maintain proper thyroid health. We have the dandelion that we mentioned earlier on that is excellent for the liver health. See, like dandelion, milk thistles, those are excellent items. Even turmeric, excellent for liver health. You want plants that have something called COX-2 inhibitors because they tend to actually destroy tumor growth. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to just say X out the flaxseed here, and I would use the chia in its place. Okay, so let me just change that for you. I'm going to just put the change here. I want this to be chia instead. And I don't know if you guys know why I'm switching it to chia. Remember we talked about flax being hormonal, okay? And because flax is hormonal, I just choose to just remove it. And I can use it, but I choose to move it because sometimes there might be individuals that may choose to use this treatment for other things that it can possibly cause issues. So it says take 1 teaspoon of chia, 1 tablespoon of chia, and we're going to say that's the oil. Okay, boom, 1 time daily. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. Okay, so good. Okay, so there it is right there, and I'll bring it back up in the slide now, and we'll operate from there. So I like the chia, and you can use chia in place of flax because remember I mentioned to you that flax is hormonal, so I like the use of chia in its place. Turmeric, excellent to use for this situation also too. Here are some COX-2 inhibitors. These are items that are known to actually destroy tumors. You know, chickpea, lentil, wheat germ, kelp, ginger, rosemary, you know, and the silmarin you get from the milk thistle, vitamin E, vitamin C. These are excellent as COX-2 inhibitor. Now, here's my special treatment for fibroids. This is my special treatment. You remember we mentioned that fibroids specifically is an estrogen-based issue. So to counter it, what I do, I use progesterone. Progesterone and estrogen are like, I don't know if any of you guys ever played seesaw. You know, any guys ever played seesaw where somebody stays on one end and it's seesaw, one is up, the other is down, one is down, the other is up. You guys know what I'm talking about? You know, Peter Gay, you guys know what I'm talking about. Tricia, Miss Vickers, Kit, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Maybe you guys never played seesaw back in the days. But in the event you ever played seesaw and you know what seesaw is, okay? When progesterone is up, guess what is down? Estrogen. So the best way to counter estrogen, as long as you have turned off the faucet, unplugged the sink, and you've already mopped up, the best way to counter it is with progesterone. So what I do when I'm working with ladies with progesterone cream, I like to use inner thigh, outer thigh, inner arm, outer arm. This is where I apply it. Between the legs, on both legs, inner thigh, and then I like the outer legs, outer thigh. I like inner arm, and then I like outer arm for both. And if you use a good one, and I love, there's one that I love that I get real good success with. There's one by the Now brand that I get tremendous result with, and that's the one I use. Works wonders. You'll see that it also says you can rub it on your chest, you can rub it on your abdomen. I actually don't use those applications. I use inner thigh, outer thigh, inner arm, outer arm. And I use the cream at all times except during menstruation. When it's time for menstruation, you can actually hold off on the cream at that time. There are times that I have used it during menstruation if I want like an extra boost, but for the most part, I do not use it during menstruation. But there are times that I've used it during menstruation if I want extra results depending on what the severity of the person is. Okay, normally women who have fibroids, they tend to be anemic. So what I like plant-based nutrition. I use something called VM100 or Active 55, and I combine that with the herbal iron to help maintain proper blood level while I'm actually dealing with the treatment or using the treatment. I also love vitamin C. Why vitamin C? Vitamin C destroys tumors. It destroys tumors. I can tell you a story. I was working with a cancer patient the other day, a stage 4 lung cancer patient, and we were using the camel, and some dropped from him and dropped on his floor, and the camel is an Amazon fruit, okay? And it's the high source of vitamin C on the face of the earth. And you want to know what happened? It actually peeled off the paint off of his concrete. And he said, oh, guess what? If that thing can peel off the paint off the concrete, I can only imagine what it's doing inside of me. I'm not taking that. I said, no, that's why you need to take it, to let you see how potent and how powerful it is. That thing destroyed tumors. It's amazing. B17, amygdalin, the 500 milligrams. I get aggressive. When I'm dealing with fibroids, I get aggressive. I treat it as cancer, and I go for the kill. I just throw everything at it and get the result. You guys see how horrible these things look. So I just throw everything at it to get the best result and get it quick. There's some individuals that can't take black cohosh. For those individuals, Vitex, it's called chaseberry, would be the other option that we can use. I use, and that's for balancing the hormone. I use burdock or liver cleanse if I'm looking to deal with the liver. You gotta definitely clean the liver. Basically anything that you're gonna deal with, the liver is like the workhorse and has to be kept clean. I also believe in cleaning the blood, and you also want to remove all the excessive whatever it is, trash, garbage, out of the system. You want to get it out of the system, and that's where you come with the colon cleanse, to remove all excess from the system. I find that just using this, what you see on this page right here, this is my special treatment, I get my result with this. The only thing you don't have on this page is the vitamin D. But because I put it on earlier, I did not put it here. But vitamin D would be technically on this page also too. Okay? Hydrotherapy. There are special hydrotherapy treatments that we do recommend when dealing with fibroids, and let me walk you through. Whenever ladies are dealing with fibroids, and I remember at my local church here in Antigua, an older lady, I was doing this presentation, and an older lady, she said, you know, Brother Luke, I guess ladies got to be a little careful with this treatment. I said, what do you mean? And I see her point, because in the Caribbean, our ladies tend to have wider hips. You know, our ladies like to be full-figured. She says, if ladies don't calculate properly and they go down in the bat pan, you know, they may not be able to come back out. I said, oh, blessed be the name of the Lord, you know. So I want to just say to our ladies that when you're going to do the sit spat, make sure you do proper calculation that when you go down, you can come back up. Amen? So here's what you do. You sit in ice cold water for 30 seconds. Listen good. 30 seconds, not 30 minutes, 30 seconds, ice cold water. And you want to sit where the water comes up to your abdomen, right below your navel, okay? And you stay in there for 30 seconds, and why? What that ice cold water does, it actually causes blood constriction of the blood supply that's going to the fibroids, and it actually starves off the blood supply to the fibroids, which ultimately kill the fibroid, kill the tumor. But one of the things you got to keep in mind is that if you are pregnant and you do this treatment, you will have a miscarriage, okay? If you are pregnant and you do this treatment, you will have a miscarriage. So make sure you're mindful. You get yourself tested before you try this treatment. This is cold sits. I like this treatment first thing in the morning. If you're heading out to school, heading out to work, whatever career path you have taken, if you're heading to the office, this is a good treatment to do first thing in the morning. In the evening, I actually like this one. So for the evening, this requires a little bit more time. This is the castor oil poultice treatment. You have your abdomen area. Now, some people are wondering, okay, Brother Luke, where's the abdomen? Okay, you know you have your belly button, your navel, and then you have the woman's private area. Well, that is right between the abdomen. The abdomen is right between the navel and a woman's private area. That little flat area right between there, that's where we're going to focus in terms of the hot pack. So what you want to do, you want to get like a pot, put some beans in like a sack or rice or corn or sand in a bag, and you kind of get them hot. And now, if individuals actually have like a heating pack would actually work better. And then what you do is that you want to put a towel on your abdomen area to avoid putting the hot item directly in the abdomen where it can possibly burn you or hurt you. And now if you're diabetic, do not do this treatment unless we speak to you or give you additional instruction if you have poor circulation. So you put that cloth on first, and then you're going to put that heating pack on the cloth, and then you put another towel over the heating pack or the heating element, whatever you're doing, and you stay there. Once that is losing its temperature, you swap that out with another one. You want to maintain the proper temperature. But before you do that, you want to make sure you rub some castor oil on the abdomen area first. And the reason being, what the castor oil does is an element that is found in castor oil that actually is found to shrink tumors. And the heat is what helps to activate it to actually aid with the shrinkage of that tumor. Next, there's something called a vaginal suppository. Vaginal suppository. I love this one. And when I make it, I normally use the coconut oil. I do not use the olive oil in making it. And the reason why I use the coconut oil versus the olive, with the coconut oil, right, when it's placed in a cold temperature, it tends to get nice and firm. So I get a more solid base item with the coconut oil than I do with the olive oil, but I gave you an option. But the coconut oil is my favorite. So for the slippery M and yellow dark and so forth, I like powder for all these herbs. I like the powder version. So in that way, we're basically making a paste is what you're going to do. Make a paste, stick it in the freezer, and kind of just roll it together. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like rolling, like, you know, chocolate, you know, maybe you guys never made chocolate in where you're at, but if you're one that ever made like chocolate, you know, you can roll it. If you're going to use that chocolate, you know, but okay. But the bottom line is just make it like into a paste and like roll it, like how you roll out like a pencil. Kind of looking somewhat like a pencil, but not as thin as a pencil. Think of it as maybe like the thickness of your index finger. And here's what you do. You don't need it long. You just need it just basically 1 inch, okay? And what you do for ladies, you know what your private area looks like and so forth. So make sure you make it a size that would work with your private area. That can you can insert it. It's a vaginal insert. So keep that in mind as you make these items. Do not make them too big. You know, consider the size as you make these items. But it works. If you look at the different methods that we're using, we have vaginal suppository. We're using a poultice. We're using a sitz bath. You know, there's so many different things that we're throwing at it, we're using, which works amazingly. I have a couple more options that I normally use that I can suggest that you use, and I'll just put them up that you can see. But normally I stop here and I get my result. But for some ladies, they may choose to go on and do some additional options, and I'll show you the additional options. They can use something called a douche, and they can also use a garlic treatment. So I have another slide up here for 5 days where they can actually use a garlic insert treatment, and then finally they can use something called a vaginal douche. I'll tell you how to use the vaginal douche as we come to a close. With the vaginal douche, you're going to actually use something called white oak bark and yellow dock tea. The combination of these is absolutely amazing. It's one of the most potent of all douches for strengthening and cleansing and purifying the female reproductive system. You perform this twice a day, in the morning again, just before retirement, just before bedtime. And remember this, that greater benefit is derived from this treatment when the individual can remain in a recumbent position for some hours after. Okay, so keep that in mind. Well, just want to say thank you so much for allowing us to put that treatment together for you. I hope that the treatment was a blessing. And what I'm going to do right here, we're going to just go right ahead and end the recording and go to Q&A.